stores it with the CQS shader. But with
we
the
can wait
changes,
until they're
there's
done.
like turn on optimization. It's like 2.5 milliseconds.
What? Are you serious? It's that much better?
It's way better.
With that data over 60.
Oh, way over 60. Yeah, I'm running 75 plus. Woo! And in the starter EK, I'm at 110.
Oh, can you hear that, Todd?
What's that?
Just Jason being a badass. Just we're finding something with the terrain where we could do this differently with how we're exporting it, and he's getting way more.
Oh, you moved to meshes instead of Unity terrains or something else?
No. Not even meshes yet. It's just the way we were exporting it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, that's pretty cool.
There's some things that basically there's a checkbox that says make terrain fast, and we weren't checking it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So, we should do that. Look for more of those.
Yeah, I'm digging for all the checkboxes.
What about the character one? Was the LOD system broken in between with the last merge? Because it looked like on Blair's machine he went from like 75 down to 35 frames from one version to the next.
Probably isn't just characters, because I don't think he had many characters on screen, but yes, every one of the characters that's running is still running the old versions, because we exported on both branches, and I just told Bill to throw it away.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go back and re-export that stuff.
Okay, because that was a big jump. That was significant.
It normally never is check this and everything works. That's like never happens.
So thank you, Jason. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. We had talked about noise map first, and then dropping the continent blockers, right? Like big ass mountain range goes here and grows. I was thinking instead of that, maybe we hold off on the continent breakers, right? The rivers and the mountains.
Well, I thought we would do the rules system first.
Which rule system? The one that decides whether it's a beachhead, an adventuring, or a siege world?
Oh, I mean, that's already been decided by the time it gets to this point.
Yeah,
that's part of the campaign manager.
Right.
This is the island manager. We need to have like locations where we can have players teleport in.
Yeah, so that's the next one I said was strongholds and gates, right?
Yes.
So gates was definitely already there. I added strongholds to it. My thought being, so let's say that these are the strongholds. So these are 3 forts, right? And then here's my gates. So I dropped the strongholds and the gates. So then my thought was, instead of starting with here's a mountain range and I have to then work around it, instead we do the road network connecting these things first. So we drop the roads, and then secondary to that, we go in and we drop the mountain range, and we make sure that each of these terrain feature networks, mountain range or river or whatever, they have at least a set of tiles that say, hey, what do I use if a road goes through me? So if a road is already here and I'm doing a mountain range that comes down like this, I have a specific tile that is what happens if I need to overrun a road right here tile with my mountain range. So it's a mountain pass tile, right? So the mountain range set says, oh, and if I'm going along and I'm trying to drop mountains right here, I recognize that right here is a road, so I replace the normal straight piece that was going to be there with a straight with a mountain pass with a road cutting through it. So then you'd have the road would actually come up naturally and it would intersect this mountain range and you have a really good mountain pass.
Yeah, the way I'm doing it right now is I'm just doing a lookup on a table to say, hey, I'm an empty location.
Yeah.
What's adjacent to me? And then select a piece based off of that.
So I was suggesting that you have an override where the road tile, this cell right here, has already been filled with a north-south running road. When you drop this terrain feature, it recognizes, oh, that's been filled with a road. I was going to put in a north-south facing mountain pass or an east-west mountain pass. I should have flipped my orientation here. But I need to combine it with a road. I have one of those. So I replace it with a piece that is both. It has already a road cutting through it, and it also has mountain range right here, so that now it accommodates both of those networks intersecting.
I really like that.
I think that would be really cool, because if it was a canyon, we would be coming along and it would be a normal canyon and there's a rope bridge going across it. If it's a river, there would be a really cool bridge going across it. If it's a mountain range, it would be we'd just make sure that we have a road version in all of these sets.
Right, so hills, forests,
whatever. Right.
They all have a modular
forest would
set
have
of
it too.
roads
Yeah, forest would have like, here's a normal straight, and if I happen to need to put that straight down where there's a road, here's how the road moves through the forest. And it was made specifically to blend these two networks that are crossing. Does that make sense? Is that too complicated?
Nope. It would just require having an exclusion of roads being considered as being adjacent pieces.
Okay.
That's basically, and then from that, we would have to have a lookup list of if I'm mountains, this is the type I put in there.
Right. So does it mean that we would have to have? So this road though could intersect with this network at any given tile. Does that mean at every single tile we have to have a road version?
The combinations, it gets really bad. You're going to have every variant of that type of road there. These are not excluded, right? We could say these are actual blockers for a mountain, and the mountain chain has to go around. It can only go over straight pieces.
Okay, I was going to say, or the other option is we have the idea of an anchor piece for every network. We could say that we always want, I mean, this seems kind of counterintuitive, but the anchor piece is this piece. And so every network of mountains or whatever would always intersect a road somewhere.
But that means all your mountains are going to have a road?
They wouldn't. We could have another anchor piece that is just a normal mountain. And then we could throw if we're going to put 4 terrain feature networks on this map, 2 of them are going to grow naturally off of roads because we just think that looks cool, and 2 of them are not. So you would end up having a mountain range here and a mountain range up here, but here's the one road and here's the next one, right? So we would just kind of mix in a couple of intersection pieces into the road deck as if that was, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, which then maybe,
I like the idea of intersecting networks. I think it was really cool.
So if you went with that idea that you had an anchor for, let's say, just for a normal mountain, would you then flip this? Because since this is going to have the road, because the reason why I'm asking is, what if you wanted this road network to be separate than this one down here, and you had a mountain range to cut them both off?
You have to pick something in order first, right? Yeah. So my thought was we need to start with the gates and the strongholds, because that's the most important thing, is that we get the spacing of those correct. Yeah. If you have 2 strongholds, or all 3 strongholds right next to each other, that map's kind of busted, right?
No, I agree.
So I thought we'd start with those 2.
Logical.
And then because we did strongholds and gates first, it felt to me like building the roads next would make the most sense. If not, then we'd have to make the road smart enough to go, oh, there's a mountain range here and it doesn't have a pass. I mean, I guess that's another option, is the mountain range could just have mixed in with it like let's say the mountain range goes like this, and this particular piece right here was a mountain range with pass. Then it could just kind of pathfind and say, oh, I want to go right here, then that's a pass, so I pass through there. And if it didn't have that, then it would go all the way around. I mean, that's the other option, is the roads just have to pathfind effectively around the terrain features. And then we just include some of, it's just, you could get something really weird, like the pass is over here, right next to the edge of the world, and why the fuck would it go around there?
I was just trying to, what I was worried about is if we do the roads first, they're going to go probably most likely to a straight line. They're
going to go pretty straight. I mean, if there's nothing blocking them, why wouldn't they?
And so we're then now going to put blockers around those roads.
Okay. So you think it'd be more natural to have that? Does sound more natural because that's the way it actually works, right? It's not like the mountain ranges came after the roads.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
So probably if we can have like a list on the data side that says like, okay, well here's this particular parcel tile for the mountains has an analog road.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe when it finally hits along its original path, a tile where it doesn't have a road, it just kind of like searches out to the sides until it finds one that it does have an analog for.
Okay, so the road, basically, the algorithm that lays the road will look and say, hey, my choices at this point, I've hit a mountain range, is I can either go left, I can go right, or I can change the tile that's right in front of me if I have an appropriate one to a mountain pass.
Right.
And if it does, then it might change it, and if it doesn't, it goes left randomly. So, okay, I went left. Now I still want to go forward, but I can't. Oh, hey, this time it's a straight, though. I could put a mountain range here, so I'm going to do that. So it would be basically flipping these 2. The terrain features would be first, and then the roads would try and either walk around or blast their way through. What do you think? Is that more reasonable?
Possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like this idea.
I like the idea of mixing some of this in, because it'll make it feel more organic and natural, like people lived in this world, than just, well, the roads are one thing and the mountains are another, and they don't ever intersect.
Plus, I was worried about the mountains, as cool as they're going to be for just world blockers, just how to get through it.
Right.
And,
well, if having like this mountain pass, we can design this particular parcel to be a PvP space.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? We can make a level out of it on purpose. Like, hey, let's make, kind of like what you did with the castle.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it have lots of interesting nooks and crannies and vantage points and stuff like that to make it more interesting as a PvP space. So, okay, so then after these 2, so I need to flip these 2. Make a note of that so we won't forget. Then the adventure networks, I figured we would drop other anchor spots and then we would just kind of grow the networks out from them until they hit other things. Like this one might say, hey, I can grow in this direction, or this direction. So it starts to grow, and then it hits a road, and it's like, well, I can't grow there anymore, so let's go over here.
So is it like a forest adventure?
Yeah, it could be a forest, it could be a canyon, anything, right? It could be a dungeon, it could be whatever. The point is it starts with an anchor point, and it kind of knows the directions it can grow until it hits something. And if it hits a mountain, it can't grow anymore, so cap it and go to the other side. And it kind of just kind of fills the area that is left. And then after that, whatever is done and left, we just do filler parcels, right? And those could be here. That's ABC. It could be hero parcels all the way down to this. It could be a farm. It could be nothing, just empty pasture or whatever. And then cliff edges last, I guess. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So we'd have to make a variant of these then for the beachhead, for the adventuring worlds, and the siege worlds. So each of them would be different variations of the same idea.
Yeah, and then underneath each one of those, we're going to need a size, and then we're going to need my randomization height to be able to say,
is it a donuts and stuff like that?
Is it a stringy world? Is it a really, round world? What kind of do you want? Peninsulas?
Yeah, so maybe they would probably fall in here with terrain features. You would want to do it at the same step because the roads would need to accommodate a donut, right? If the donut,
it's going to dictate.
If this, I'm just going to reuse. I don't know what the hell this circle was for, but if the donut goes like this, it's going to have an entry point right here and right here. The roads can only go in and out through there. I mean, that's just that's just part of the algorithm of pathfinding. To figure out how to go from this city to this one. If this one up here is on that donut and it's got an entrance right there and an entrance right there, it's going to have to find its way to that entrance.
Right.
Is that a big deal or not really?
It's just a matter of working through it and making sure it functions properly.
Okay. So it should be fine?
Everything has to have a connection point for a road.
Okay.
So that concept will be on all these objects.
Okay, so that tells me if we wanted to have the roads go to these rune gates, for example, or we didn't, we could. It's just whether or not we set up an entrance and say, yeah, I want it to connect or I don't.
Yeah, all you have to do is flag the parcel and say, I want a road connection here.
Are we going to do different types? So are we going to have a connector of I want a mainline road versus a dirt, like farm road versus business highway? So the rune gates are connected on a dirt road basis, but the main cities are connected with cobblestone.
Would that be determined within the parcel itself? Is it like on export?
I don't know.
We have no way to determine,
do we have just one type of road connector or do we have two? And the other question that leads into is, do the roads break or are they just single point to point? Like, if I wanted to go to this city and to this city, would it make more sense to go here and then have it fork right there? I used the wrong color. But have it fork at some point. Forks are more complicated, but they're also more interesting looking, right?
Right. So once I have the basic system done, it's basically going to go through the map and say, give me all of your road connectors. Okay, what is it? What's your distance from each other? Okay, group these ones together that are the closest to each other, and then they're going to try to draw roads out.
Okay, so you'll start point to point. And then we'll maybe consider like Y junctions and stuff like that later.
If a road ever intersects another road on its path to a location, that would create a natural Y.
Okay, that's fine.
Because once I touch another road, I'd say, okay, change this guy to match up with me. Now I've merged into the network. I don't need to do anything.
Okay, so if you had another city that was right here, then when it's trying to find a way to get here, maybe it recognizes if a road is already here and it gives priority because it could connect with only two instead of having to create that bridge. Okay, now that's great. That totally works. That solves that problem. And then along the roads right now, we don't have any dioramas. We don't have any spots for anything.
Yeah, like I sent you that image where it had like a house and a well and like the two towers.
Yeah. The house.
So we just need to go through and walk through it and say, okay, what do we want in these kind of areas, and just put dioramas in them.
Okay.